Hello everyone. I am Dr. Ashma Gupta. I'm an assistant professor in zoology in the Higher Education Department of UT of Jammu and Kashmir. Today, I'm going to take you on a tour of the phylum Porifera. The topic Porifera is one of the important topics in the curriculum of zoology, and every student has to study it, the one who is studying zoology. So in this video, you will learn about some important characteristics about the phylum Porifera and the classification of the poriferans. So let's begin with our topic. Poriferans, they are also called as the sponges. The term porifera has been derived from two words, pore and to bear. That is, these are the organisms which bear pores on their bodies. Poriferans are the simplest invertebrate animals. Yes, after the protozoans, they are the simplest invertebrate animals because when we begin studying the classification of animals, the first organisms we study in the Animalia kingdom, Animalia, are the protozoans, who are also designated as the unicellular organisms. But poriferans are multicellular organisms. Though they have only cells in their body which are not organized into tissues, but they themselves hold a magical world. As we will learn through the characteristics of sponges, we'll come to know that such a fascinating world of these animals are living under the oceans, under the seas, because poriferans are the aquatic and that too mostly marine organisms. So as I said that they are also called as the sponges because if we take any poriferan and look at its body, we will find that the body of a porifera is perforated by a number of pores. And these pores, they hold lot of significance for the poriferans. So first thing, the poriferans, whenever the term you hear porifera, the thing that should strike in your mind is porifera, pore bearing, and which is porous, therefore they appear as a sponge. Second thing, poriferans are completely aquatic and that too marine water organisms. Very few species are known to live in the freshwater. For example, Spongilla, one of the important genus Spongilla of the poriferans, they are known to found in the freshwater also. Thirdly, poriferans are sessile. They cannot move. So, you will find them attached either at the bottom of the oceans or seas, attached to any substratum, and that substratum may not be a simple, the bottom, sea bottom may not be the sea bed. It may be any hard surface also. They can attach themselves with the hard rocks, with the clam shells and other hard things also. Because they are so simple and they cannot move from one place to another, they are generally ignored by a layman. But of course, a zoologist can easily identify a porifera if he or she comes across the poriferans. The term porifera was first of all coined by Robert E. Grant, the worker, in the year 1836. So first of all, I have given you a summary of the general characters. So they are the animals, they are the simplest invertebrate animals. Their habitat is completely aquatic. They are sessile, they are found attached with the substratum or any hard surface, a rock or anything below the sea, below the oceans, below the rivers. But they may be found solitary, that is, they can be single sponge may be found, or they can be found in a colony. Then they have a cellular grade of organization, means the body is made up of only cells. There is no differentiation of the cells into tissues. Different type of cells may be there, but the cells, they are capable of performing all the body functioning. They are the simplest because so far up till poriferans, there's only cellular grade. In the next level, you'll find the tissue grade of organization in the animals. They show a lot of variations in their body shapes. Once we'll go through the entire topic, you will yourself see that there are different types of shapes in the poriferans. Some may be circular as a bath sponge, some may be in the form of vase, a flower vase as in euplectula, and so on. So they show a lot of variations in their shapes. Because of a lot of variations in their shapes, there is no fixed symmetry. Therefore, some can be asymmetrical, others can be radially symmetrical, but majority are asymmetrical. So they are diploblastic. They are diploblastic means at the time of development, they have only two germ layers, that is the outer dermal layer and the inner gastral layer. The middle layer is not present in the diploblastic animals. They have a coelom. The true coelom is absent. Rather, their coelom is called as the coelom, the cavity, because there are no complete organs found in poriferans. Therefore, their cavity is empty, and that is why they are called as the acoelomates. But instead of the coelom, what is present in them? There is present a spongocoel, a fluid-filled cavity which is called as the spongocoel. Poriferans have this particular character, that is endoskeleton. Keep this endoskeleton in mind because they have endoskeleton which may be made up of calcareous spicules, which may be made up of siliceous spicules, or it may be made up of special fibers, spongin fibers. But on the basis of the type of endoskeleton being present in the poriferans are classified into three different classes, and those classes also we will study later. But on what basis the poriferans are divided into three classes? On the basis of the type of endoskeleton being found in them. They are omnivorous, they feed upon anything, but they prefer to feed upon the planktons, and they are holozoic, that is they take the complete organism inside. Then there is their digestion is intracellular. Once the food enters inside the cell, the food is digested within it, because they do not have a proper digestive system beginning with the mouth and ending into anus. So it is just a cellular level of digestion. No organized nervous system, no organized circulatory system. The fertilization is completely internal, and as far as the reproduction is concerned, they can divide asexually, they can also divide sexually. So after this summary, there's a detail about the gender characteristics of the poriferans. So first thing, the body form. So as I said, they show a lot of variations in their body form. Some could be spherical, some could be cylindrical, vase shape, or others could be irregular in shape, which accounts for asymmetrical organization. So they are completely cellular. They have cellular organization. They show a lot of variations in their sizes. Symmetry, either radial or asymmetrical. Then the body wall, I told you, they are diploblastic. The body is made up of two different layers, the outer dermal layer and the inner gastral layer. Now, the body wall, they have two walls in their body. The outer layer, which is called as the pinacoderm, and the inner, which is called as the choanoderm. Both the layers have their own importance, but the inner layer, which is the choanoderm, it has flagellated cells. They have flagella in their cells. Keep this in mind because when we will study the canal system of the sponges, these choanoderms, they play a very, very important role. So keep these choanoderms, that is the flagellated cells of the wall of the poriferans, they play a very important role in forming their canal system. So they are poriferans, they are pore bearing, and the body, because of the lots of pores present in their body, they are called as the poriferans also. They are called as the sponges also. So as I told you, their habitat, they are mostly marine. Spongilla is a well-known freshwater sponge. There is no locomotion. They are completely sessile. They do not show any locomotion. Endoskeleton, I have already told you. There are different types of endoskeletons on the basis of which different type of classes are found in the poriferans. Then the canal system. Though in the next session, we are going to study about the canal system in detail. But let me tell you here that in the poriferans, what is present, this system, canal system, or it's a aquiferous system, what you call as the water system of the poriferans. With the help of the pores, the water is able to enter in the body, and with the help of another pore, which is a big pore called as the osculum, water is able to leave the body. Now, the entire feeding gases exchange and gases exchange and excretion, that is dependent on this canal system. That is what happens that with the pores, when the water comes inside the body of the porifera, it brings along with the food, it brings along with the gases. The food and the gases, they are taken up by the cells, and in turn the unwanted food, the unwanted gases and the excretory products, they are put back into the water, and that water is then drawn out of the body of the poriferans. So this entire process does not take place as such. Rather, within the poriferans, there is a well-organized canal system. There are channels, there are canals running inside the body of the poriferans, and the water comes in a very organized form in the body, runs through these canals which are present in the body of the poriferan, and then leaves with the unwanted gases, unwanted food, and the excretory products, unwanted ones. So this we are going to study quite in detail in the next topic, which is the canal system in poriferans. So different types of canal systems are present. So we'll study them in the next topic. Then nutrition, I told you, they are omnivorous, but they prefer to eat upon the planktons. Respiration and circulation is entirely dependent upon the canal system. And the reproduction, they can reproduce both asexually, and asexual reproduction is simple with the help of buddings or with the help of gemmules, which are the internal buds in the poriferans. And if they are asexual reproducing poriferans, then they are mostly hermaphrodite. The asexual ones, they are mostly hermaphrodites. So after the characteristics, let's move on to the classification of the poriferans. So on the basis of the type of endoskeleton being present, the poriferans are divided into three classes: Calcarea, Hexactinellida, and Demospongia. Calcarea, where the skeleton is made up of calcareous spicules, mostly calcium-based spicules. Hexactinellida, where the skeleton consists of mainly siliceous, silicon-based spicules. And Desmospongia, where they are made up of special protein fibers. The endoskeleton consists of special protein fibers, which are called as spongin fibers. So in this only video, you will see that I have given you one example of each class. For example, in Calcarea, the commonest genus is Cycon or the Scypha. Here is the picture of the Cycon. This is the Cycon. This can be found solitary. You can see a single piece of Cycon lying at the bottom of the oceans, or you can see it in a colony. Such a beautiful organism. It's very porous, very soft in touch. So, but when you'll break it, what you'll find is that internally its endoskeleton is made up of calcareous spicules. So, it is very hard. So, Scypha. Then Hexactinellida. So, here also I have given you one example of Hyalonema. So, it is the siliceous spicule. They give the members of this class a very beautiful glassy appearance because of these siliceous spicules. And there's a very important member of this class, Euplectilla. In Japan, there is a tradition that it is so beautiful that at the time of marriage ceremonies, the people, they gift Euplectilla to the bride. So because of its beauty, because they appear to be very glass-like, very crystal clear, and this crystal clear appearance glass-like is just because of the siliceous spicules. And the third class of this phylum Porifera is Desmospongia. The commonest example is the Spongilla. It looks like bath sponge. Here is the Desmospongia. So it appears more or less like the bath sponge. So next time when you visit any sea or any ocean or somewhere, you will definitely come across a lot of sponges. So this is one of the simplest yet one of the most beautiful phylum of the kingdom Animalia. So I hope this topic is clear. Thank you.